So there I was. No, I don't want to start like that.
Good try. Good hustle.
Yeah, thank you. You know what? At least I'm making an effort. I feel like, the bits are. No, no, okay. I was going to do a whole thing of like the bits are sacred and we should honor the bits. But then you know what? That is in itself not honoring of the bits.
I'm so exhausted by the bit being about the bit. Can we just be funny? Can we just be funny about something else?
You know what? I think we can. So,
Uh,
politics.
uh,
uh,
go.
uh, skull. I'll keep it. Okay, hold on. I got it proper this time. Hello, everybody! Welcome back to Double the Draft. I'm Cabral, coach of the Hashling Aegis Slashers. Joining me today
Is Spood of the Southtown Sand Slashers, and we're going to cover the Week 3 matches out of the Rocket Division in Double the Draft Season 8.
I cannot believe we're already in Week 3. Holy cow. It's been going by, and I'm still of the mindset, and I think you are as well, that Rocket Division is the one to watch as we've been going through the seasons and looking at the standings and the stats of all the players, because as you had said the last time, we're completely flip-flopped. A lot of the expected individuals and coaches who would do well and the teams that we expected to do well are at the opposite end of where we expected them to be, looking at the division standings.
Yeah, at least going into this week, Bananas back in the top 4, that makes sense. Everything else is pretty much wackadoo still. I guess you could make the argument that, like, between Black Captain and Menma, like, one of them was probably going to squeeze in on, like, the 4th playoff slot, depending. But, right now, they are both sitting in the top 4, again, going into this week. And we are seeing, excellent players, pretty much the gimme advances into playoffs from this division, being Nihilus and Aurora, still sitting in the bottom 4.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting going into Week 3, because now we're going to start getting matches where, and I know I keep saying this every week, when the matches and the points and the diff and all that stuff start to matter, but, Week 3, Week 4 are when you really start to solidify who is going into playoffs and who isn't. Right? There are players in this division who are 2-0 victories, and if they both get wins this week, being 3-0 is huge, because that's usually roughly what allows you to sneak into like 4th or 3rd place, depending on the other standings of the players and the teams. And generally, once we get into Week 4, and people either get their 4th wins or their 4th losses or whatever it is, you really start to get an idea of who's probably making top 4 and who's lost their chance at that point.
There is a lot of variance, we, like, harkening back to some seasons prior, we've seen people go 3-4 in division, losing more matches than they win, and they qualify for playoffs. And then sometimes you see people who go 4-3, who win more matches than they lose, and they fall out of playoffs because they're fighting for other people who are sitting at the same record. And that's like Nihilus is somebody who's been victim to that, more than once, where he's a lot of the time got a really good record coming out of division, but he just ends up in these divisions where, the divisions themselves become so top heavy that it's like a bunch of people with really strong records all fighting each other for those top spots. So,
yeah.
Nihilus is definitely going to want to put together some more wins, get some valuable tiebreakers. He's already got one very valuable tiebreaker in Bananas, given where they're both kind of floating in the ranking right now.
Yeah.
If he can pick up another one on Aurora this week, that'll be nice, but that's something we're going to have to look at later.
We will, because currently we're going to actually look at Goober Trooper of the Bidwell Bees versus Rayhai, Black Captain of the Martian Mantines. And looking at team preview, these are both scary teams, actually.
Yes, Black Captain's team, Rayhai, he goes crazy. Surprised not to see Galarian Slowking, although, actually, the more I think about it, the less surprised I am by that, given how hard it gets owned by like half the things on this team. So,
yeah.
But you've seen single striker Shifu just go crazy with that Galarian Slowking support, and looking at this team too, they both look pretty hyper offense, right? Like, you're seeing, probably like Tailwind maybe screens Illumise You've got like Webs, Araquanid, you know, obviously like single striker Shifu. You know, a lot of the times it's like Bandit, or it could be like Swords Dance, or you know, that like classic sort of Scarf Eruption, Typhlosion. So a lot of this stuff looks very scary on Black Captain's side, and on Goober's side also looks very scary because you've got stuff like you know, potential Shell Smash, Cloyster. You know, you've got Beast Boost Guzzlord. You've just got Mega Beedrill, which doesn't need any setup to be so threatening. You know, Landorus, like Incarnate, really good at like dual dancing and just hitting things with these insanely powerful Sheer Force moves. And let's not forget about Moltres Galar, which comes with its setup built right into its ability. So really, I think this is going to be a pretty explosive fight. I think it's just going to start fast and burn hot.
Yeah, for sure. And with Martian Mantines being at a 2-0 at 8 right now, he wants to maintain that win. But Goober Trooper is a 1-1 at 0, true net neutral at the moment with his standing. But if he gets a win here, I think that's going to be really big for the rest of the season going forward.
Oh yeah, because right now, you know, we're still early enough in that like the top of the division are just sitting at 2-0. I mean, it is only week 3.
Yep. But
if Goober takes this, then he's sitting at 2-1. Black Captain's sitting at 2-1. Their diff is only separated by 8 points, which means a 4-0 will put Goober in first over him, you know, notwithstanding any other movements in the division this week. So, and that's like insanely doable, you know, that's like not a crazy unreasonable thing to ask. So it's really going to be a question of, you know, can Black Captain keep the dominance of Urshifu single strike just raining hell on this division? Or is Goober's big, scary hyper offense team going to get hyperly offensive?
Oh, well, we'll find out right this second. We have a Araquanid lead, which makes sense. And hello, Arcanine.
Yeah, you see no Intimidate, so you can pretty much assume it's going to be Rockhead, which means you can assume it's going to be Head Smash, which means you can assume you can't switch into it safely. I mean, look, Garganackle known to be...
on Garganackle is insane.
Garganackle is known to be a very scary Pokemon defensively, and it just gets chunked by a thing it's not even weak to. It's just like so bad.
We do see a Boots on the Cloyster, thank you. So likely it's running Rapid Spin. We do get a Liquidation, which does get rid of any sashes and stuff if they're there, but Toxic came out right after, so maybe going for earlier Rapid Spin could have been a little nicer.
It doesn't really, you know, matter too much. Like, Goober played it more or less fine. The problem was he should have gotten damage with Landorus when it came out, because he set up the Rock Polish while Araquanid was still topped off, knowing he wouldn't be able to one-shot it. So that's kind of a misplay. He didn't kind of identify the need to be gone. But you see, it's not having a hard time getting kills now.
Yeah. And this Guzzlord into a Terrifier Eruption taking only 42% is crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean that's that 200 whatever, you know, base HP stat.
50% with a knockoff is so crazy. I love the substitute here. Sticky Web's coming back out, and it's like, well, it's already behind sub. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean now the Webs, they can't be spun away anymore, but Goober does have a lot of stuff that's like flying type or doesn't really mind the speed going down at this point, so the Webs kind of have limited utility, but they're still nice to have just for Mega Beedrill. Yeah,
we get 2 U-turns that do not take away the substitute, and that is so funny to me.
This very resisting bug, man.
Doing 75% of this thing's HP, basically. Crazy.
Yep.
Burn Up finally getting rid of it, but again, at that point, it's like, this thing clicks knockoff again. What do you do? Beast Boost coming out, and Fairy type is so good on Guzzlord.
Yeah. Well, Guzzlord's so underrated. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I would have also basically just called the bluff there and said, like, hey, you know what? Flash Cannon me if you have it, but, you know, I'm Terra Fairy. Like, you're not going to force me out unless I die here.
Love the Air Slash. Good call.
That just hits everything super effectively or neutrally.
Yep. And then at this point, it's, you know, an unfortunate miss for the Focus Blast here, but Draco is not killing this thing with a special attack drop.
Right, and it already revealed that it was Scarf, so you're not even looking at like specs damage or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, Earth Power doing 67%, not quite a kill. Wicked Blow being dumb as always, but again, you know, here's Arcanine, which we know...
Arcanine comes back in.
Oh, man.
Still lives that Wicked Blow. It looks very Choice Banded to me. And that's it. Like we say, I mean, that's a quick back and forth, just pop, 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 pop kind of game. looking at just the damage numbers coming off of stuff like Urshifu and even that like resisted eruption, that Terrafire full health eruption is ridiculously power. I mean, you're looking at something like 300 power, right? Because it's basically adaptability stab like at 150. So it's not literally adaptability, but it was Terrafire, which effectively whatever.
Yeah.
Splitting hairs, but it's just so much damage coming off of both sides. Like Beedrill didn't even really have to do all that much. Garganacl couldn't find an opportunity to like Salt Cure and Iron Defense and recover.
Again, just the opening head smash did so much immediately, and again, Garganacl taking what was it, 48% of its HP immediately. Just again left a way for it to just get shot with a focus blast and just die. So it didn't do anything to contribute, and it's little things like that in a match that matter so much. That's why it's so important to get off damage on Pokemon, because if you get off some early damage on stuff, you can come in later with Pokemon you expect to have set up or whatever it is to like clean up the rest of an opponent's team.
Yeah, it's it also is a good demonstration of kind of why people have to rely on things like Focus Blast, because you saw there like Goober even missed one.
Yeah,
I think he roughly hit at accuracy about what you would expect, given that it's a 70% accurate move. And a lot of the times, ideally you want to avoid running something like Focus Blast unless you absolutely have to. But looking into this team, it's like Garganacl, Hydreigon, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
So. And it was good. It was good that he did it, and it really paid off, especially backing that Bandit or Shifu into a corner, saying like, "Yep, you're either going to Wicked Blow or you're going to be stuck Sucker Punching, or there's no real fun way for you to play this end game." And that was the case. I mean, Goober looked really clean. Besides trying to set up that Rock Polish while Arachnoid was still in play, that looked really textbook. He hit all the right buttons, in my opinion.
And that does give him that 2-1, but we'll have to come back a little later to look at the stats. But we got another match to look at here if you want to introduce us.
Do not mind if I do. Well, we've got ASCII of the Philadelphia Phantumps fighting Liz of the Sunshine State Smolivs. Liz being kind of the counterpart to Goober Trooper, and that both of them are Rocket League, that's funny, that's a video game. Rocket Division players that are new to the league. This is both of their first seasons, and they're both doing really well going into this week. So, but Liz is doing better than Goober. Goober having come into this at a net neutral 1-1-0. Liz right now entering this fight at a 2-0 +4, currently sitting in second place in the division. Meanwhile, ASCII really struggling. He is currently tied with Aurora at the bottom, that 0-2 -7. This is like, you really want to stop the bleeding if you can help it. And this is a nice win to pick up. Again, we're talking about the difference between these players being 1 to 2 games. And I mean, even at its worst here, we're looking at a difference of about like 11 diff, which a 6-0 offsets entirely, right? So nothing is lost yet. Like, ASCII is not super out of the game, but this is a nice high value thing, because if you bring yourself up, you bring Liz down, and you have that tiebreaker win, that's going to be huge value for you. And just in general, obviously, you want to start getting wins. You don't want to go into week 4 at 0-3. Nobody wants to do that. It's quite a morale breaker. So I'd say Philadelphia Phantumps. I would say ASCII stands to lose more from losing here than Liz stands to lose, but they both definitely want to win.
Yeah, for sure. We got some fun Pokemon on both sides of the party. As ASCII has, I don't want to say a samey draft, but you have some predictable Pokemon that are likely to come based off of the Pokemon that ASCII has drafted from the beginning. That'll come each week. Again, Tapu Koko setting up Electric Terrain for Iron Moth. You have Sun with Lilligant Hisui with Mega Y Charizard. I almost said X. Setting up Sun for Lilligant Hisui. And Terra Lucario, we see it is the Terra of Fairy here this week, which is a solid option actually into most of this team. Is really good as a Terra Pokemon. And Uxie, of course, being the utility, has been pretty much every single week.
Yeah, this is another one of those like very top-heavy looking drafts, kind of the same way that Menma's is, where you've got your point sinks in like Tapu Koko and Mega Charizard Y, and You got to really lean on those Pokemon if you spend so much on them, and you can kind of expect to see them come every week. But, part of what makes them good 10-pointers, 9-pointers, whatever, is that they do have kind of a bag of tricks. And what we see this week, at the risk of spoiling it a little bit, this is not a very offensive Tapu Koko. This is a screen support defogging Tapu Koko to kind of better enable Mega Charizard Y, and I think it was a good pick. And Liz also identifying the lack of ground types. No electric immunities means that this funny little Pokeball guy, the Hisuian Electrode, is going to be able to Volt Switch with impunity. And you even see that Terra Electric, which at a glance may look like, oh, I forgot to set a Terra type, but no, that is just there's no immunity, there's no Lightning Rod, there's no random Terra Ground or whatever. This thing can Terra Electric, outspeed everything with ease, and just pop, 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 do a ton of damage with those really threatening Volt Switches.
Yeah, Volt Switch is just so free, and it's such a powerful move. 70 base power for a special attacker, and Electrode is not the hardest hitting, but like you said, with the basically adaptability on top of that with stab, it's just really good. But yeah.
And honestly, even if you're not quite hitting those damage thresholds that you want, like, the whole point of Volt Switch is that they can't hit you back. ASCII cannot attack the Electrode if it Volt Switches into something else. So,
yeah.
ASCII's always going to have to be making those reads, making those concessions. I think he's going to be have to be very cognizant of that, or at least Liz is going to have to choose to push Electrode as an option. Claydol is also here.
It is here. It rapid spins.
It does rapid spin. I mean, Claydol does a lot of random things. Okay, it's a levitate, so ground immunity is always good. Rapid spinner's always good.
Sets up screens, future sights. I think it gets toxic as well. So
yeah,
it's mostly utility, but you can hit with it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good immunities, resists, and just a bunch of random little tools. So it's cool to see it here. And the other stuff, again, really not surprising to see. Annihilate, Incineroar. Latias, Glamora, like, very staple brings at this point.
Yeah. So, but I think we should actually spoil the match itself and take a gander at it. We have a Lucario lead, which, fair, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Lucario's pretty good at punishing. I mean, especially with the Terra Fairy, like, it can be threatening into Latias and Incineroar and the other guy, the monkey, Annihilate.
I do love the mirror opening that you just get here.
Yeah, the Uxie and Claydol, turns out, are the same Pokemon.
Yeah.
Levitating psychic types that trade rocks and toxic.
Yeah, that knockoff just taking this thing out is so funny.
Incineroar's great, man.
Yeah,
it's such a good pickup.
I always don't think about it, because you think of most starters in Pokemon, you think, well, they're fine. They're nothing you really go out of your way for. But, there's little things like the parting shot and just how hard that thing hits and the move pool it has. It's nice. It does good things. Parting shot's just such a good move.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good match for fire Pokemon starters because you've got Incineroar and Charizard in the mix. Speaking of Charizard, this thing behind a light screen actually does, spoiler alert again, this Weather Ball does 1 billion damage, but it doesn't die to that stab power gem.
Yeah, which is crazy. But again, this thing is not super fast, so we could see maybe Electrode come in here or something. Oh, there it is. And yeah.
So that was really good thinking by ASCII. That was incredibly solid support from the Tapu Koko into the Mega Charizard.
Yeah.
Here's where we see some choking, unfortunately. Liz decides, actually, I don't want to give up my Claydol, and so she takes just a random, insanely hard-hitting 71% from Solar Blade. Whereas, you see this thing comes in, and after the Intimidate, Solar Blade only doing 25%. And she could have gone into this thing sooner. If she was going to double out, she could have gone into here, fake out, remove the sun. There was a lot of options there that could have been better than just chunking Annihilate to the point that it really can't hang with anything else anymore.
Yeah, because at this point, switching out again just to take more damage from a Weather Ball and everything. And, crit probably mattered, but it still would have taken a lot of damage regardless.
It's slower. At best, that crit saved him a sun turn, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, that Volt Switch swing 34% though is crazy. Also, that
triple
axle miss.
Scary triple axle. That probably was going to kill if I had to assume, at least if it hit all three. But it also would have procced weakness policy, so, Yeah. I still think that, he got a little bit unfortunate there, but Golden Boo Boo going in. I mean, starting to clean up. It's looking pretty decent, but oh, she overlooks that Terra Fairy and pays dearly for it off that Terra Blast.
And at this point, you know, Volt Switch 64% is so strong.
Yeah, just look at that.
Yeah, because at this point, it's, you know, what do? You come back in here with Electrode, you hit Volt Switch again and knock this thing out, but then you're already at a weakened Incineroar and, you know, 44% and you're Toxic. And Iron Moth is still at full. Sure, we get the 22%,
I mean,
but...
Yeah, that's a good fake out. You know, you don't see a booster energy, so it could be sashed. And she's basically playing to her out, saying, like, okay, my only way to win this is to crit this Thunderbolt or get a parry or something, and it just doesn't really happen.
Yeah. So, very close match. A couple
of
fumbles here and there for Liz being a newer player. But again, it's just, you know, well played on both parts. Aski getting that first win, which is really solid. That'll help Aski remain in contention for playoffs. And Liz
he was...
Good.
I was just going to say, he was really struggling there for a minute, but he tightened up a lot this game. This game, I thought, looked really solid from Aski. And unfortunately, you know, he just put on such good pressure that, like, Liz making that one mistake, maybe in a game where he'd been playing more passive, or, you know, she had, like, better, more specific checks to, like, the sets that he brought, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. But just, like, that switching into the Annihilate, getting a chunk, taking it out of the game, losing Claydol on that double switch, like... a lot of little optimizations where, like, I mean, you just look at it. Iron Moth at 19% is all that's left. You know, that's just like one more fake out, you know? But, just unfortunately for Liz, she kind of fumbled it, and it was just enough for Aski to pull through. So excellent work from Aski, staying in the game now at a 1-2. And honestly, again, fine for Liz dropping down after that. You know, she was currently... or, you know, I say currently, she was at the time sitting at a 2-0. Now she's sitting at a 2-1 going into week 4. So, not the end of the world. Still a positive record. Still doing fine. Still in the top 4, I believe.
I could definitely.
But now Aski's back in the game. Makes it exciting.
Yeah, and that's what's really cool about Rocket Division is we're not quite spoilers, but, you know, there's a lot that's just going to shake up stuff. Things have been shaken up. They're going to keep getting shaken up as we look into more matches. Like right here, we have a very big match. We have Aurora, coach of the Hoensbroek Hunters, at an 0-2 -7 at the bottom of the draft. Right above her is Nihilus of the Dallas Duckletts at a 1-1 -3, and Aurora definitely wanting to get a win to not be knocked out of playoffs contention at this point.
Yeah, it's not to say that an 0-3 makes you impossible to get into playoffs, but that is really tough, especially in this division where everybody else, I mean, there's a lot of 2-win people now at this point. And there's at least going to be another one guaranteed later on. So this is looking like very dire for Aurora. And for Nihilus, I mean, he's doing better than Aurora. He did pick up his win on Bananas early on, and that's a very nice win to have. But he's currently, you know, also not sitting in the top 4 as of going into this fight. And they're both supposed to be pretty safely in the top 4. So this, I think, is going to have pretty serious ramifications for the rest of this division, not just for both of these players, but for everyone around them. Everyone who has fought them or anticipates a, you know, specific outcome, like Aurora being where she is. If she ends up at an 0-3 minus whatever, like, that's really, really tough. If Nihilus drops this here, goes to 1-2, and then Aurora's at 1-2, Aski's also sitting at 1-2 now after that last game. And that's a guaranteed win across everybody. That means, you know, like, I'm not going to spoil anything else, but it's the standings are incredibly contentious right now, and this match is vitally important.
Yeah. And, you know, I think we'll go ahead and actually hit play here and start talking about the draft, because we have some really scary Pokemon as we look into it. You know, Vikavolt doing so much. We get Webs here in just a second, I imagine, because that's what it does really good. But Knockoff doing 65% to this thing is so crazy.
Yep. People forget about Papa Pango. He hits hard.
He hits so hard. Again, Stone is doing 43 to Kangaskhan is crazy. Zapdos coming in expecting Earthquake. There it is.
Mm-hmm. Smart. Nihilus also smartly running Rock Slide, going for that double flinch chance. You know, it's in theory a speed tie. They're both base 100, but it's like that Zapdos would be running a little bit of bulk, meaning that it can't be max speed, meaning that Kangaskhan, which probably doesn't mind running max speed, you know, could be getting those flinches too.
Yeah.
And not making contact.
Yeah, Deoxys defense here is just such a bulky, fun pickup. I really wanted this season. I wanted to play around with it. But Nihilus got it, and this thing, 79% from a knockoff is insane. But it lives.
Not even stab is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It only takes like one Swords Dance for Mega Mawile to get over 1,000 attack. It's really strong.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the doubling back into Golurk while Aurora doubles.
So good from Nihilus.
Yeah, really well done to bait out that switch.
We're going to see this dynamic kind of emerging that like Aurora's pretty scared of Nihilego, and if it gets on a tear, if it starts setting up that beast boost, it looks really unstoppable. The only thing Aurora has for it is Nihilego can't really touch Mega Mawile.
Yeah.
So she is going to be really relying on Mega Mawile to, keep Nihilego in check. And that means that she has to keep it healthy in front of everything, no matter what. And so Nihilus is really trying to swat this thing out of the way.
Yeah. And you could be like, there's no guard activating, by the way.
That's true. Aurora running just Raw Hurricane, knowing that actually no guard not only makes your moves fully accurate, but it makes moves into you fully accurate.
Yep.
So no chance of missing that Hurricane into Golurk.
Yep. And the Sucker Punch just, of course, taking this thing out because, we saw Nihilus early clicking Earthquake into the bird because Nihilus could not take a chance that Mega Mawile would not stay in. Right? It's just far safer to click Earthquake to make sure you hit that thing first. At this point, we do see Aurora building momentum, a little bit of a back foot here from Nihilus, losing 2 big pieces.
That flip turn crit also makes the positioning a lot harder.
Yeah. So, Kingston, we saw Wish early.
Switch back out into Kingston.
Yeah. I saw Wish earlier. Drain Punch just taking this thing out is so crazy. But Wish is still there, going right into Deoxys, and we have the Wish pop off here right here, right? Yes, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, right here. There you go. So, Recover brings it back up over the knock, and then Wish from Kangaskhan actually paying huge dividends, because this Deoxys went from being a non-issue to being way annoying in one turn.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those, like, high-concept plays, right? Like, sacking your Kangaskhan sucks. I know you just want to click Earthquake in front of this thing. But that Wish just made Deoxys, public enemy number 1 for Aurora, because this thing is really tough for her to take out.
Yeah, and you can see her just
constantly
switching and trying to figure out how to deal with this. We get, Naganadel here, Draco doing 62% Articuno and not knocking it out.
Mm-hmm. And you see another Draco coming out. Does 41, but now it's not going to, do another hit. Deoxys, recovers right back up. And again, this thing puts on so much pressure. He just needs to hit a couple of seismic tosses into that damn Mawile, and then Nihilego sweep looks really good. Look at how chipped Aurora's team is at this point.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Nihilus is still not out just yet. We get a Beast Boost off, but, Pangoro's here. We already know it has Sucker Punch or Bullet Punch, one or the other probably. There's Bullet Punch. Mm-hmm. And Deoxys switches it on that. And here's Jellicent, though, which, there's one move that hasn't been revealed yet on Deoxys. We don't know if it can hit this yet. We get a teleport. The other goes here. Thunderbolt only doing 43, getting scalded down to 5%, but then burn means that it's going to get chipped out of HP.
Yep. Unfortunate from Nihilus's end, but that's kind of just the nature of the scald, and unless short of getting a Thunderbolt there or like a paralysis or whatever. I mean, you saw how little that did. It was maybe a 3-hit KO.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 4-hit KO after Leftovers recovery.
Yeah.
And you see the 4th move is not something like Toxic. We're actually looking at Spikes, and that means that his only attacking move on Deoxys is Seismic Toss, which of course does not work on the Ghost-type Jellicent. And now it's the waiting game, and Nihilus is still not quite out of it yet. Because of Deoxys' pressure, you'll notice that these Scalds are just flying out. They are not staying. But the problem is with just the 8 recover PP, it's like, especially on the burn, you are on a timer. It's not as good as like a Toxic timer or something, but that burn will inevitably count down towards Deoxys dying without, a steady supply of recovers to keep it topped off.
Yeah.
And although he has kind of an advantage in the PPL game with pressure and with Deoxys being so bulky, it's just not quite enough to seal the deal against Aurora here in specific endgame.
Yeah, and it's crazy how little things can just make that much of a difference, because there's no way for this to actually deal with Jellicent properly. You know, again, a simple Toxic actually might have sped this whole thing up and made it so that Deoxys could have lasted the rest of the Pokemon, because as we were talking about earlier, majority of Aurora's team is just chipped, and they could all, you know, this thing comes in at 37%, Seismic Shock's doing 26. If this thing had full HP, what does Zapdos really do to Deoxys? Not much.
Yeah. It was a really good game. You know, the momentum was swinging back and forth a lot. I really loved the tech. You know, Golurk was running that Colbur Berry, even though by the time it procced, he was already chipped enough with the Hurricane. Aurora showing some really solid awareness. Like, you know, this is a 5-0 on paper, but this was a lot closer than how that number would lead you to believe. And I thought this demonstrated some really good awareness, some really smart maneuvering on both sides. God, you know, Nyla's such a tragic figure in the double dip lexicon. I don't know what you would call it. Oh, I'm getting a phone call.
No! But it's really cool when you get to see players like this play to their fullest. You get to see the ins and outs, and you get to see players. Again, Nyla's doing the doubles earlier. It's just so fun to watch. I loved Aurora just picking up those pieces as well, and just also, like, you know, hitting back, realizing I can sit with Jellicent, I have to play this well and play this right, can't just switch out, you know. There's a time and place to try and ensure you don't lose the Scald, which did the most amount of damage. You saw Aurora towards the end game switching into Energy Ball, and then once started running out of moves, started running out of recovers, Aurora switched into Zapdos to finish off and just keep it clean towards the end game. So as we said earlier, it's just really well played by both parties, and I really enjoy that aspect about it. We do have one more match to go, but it sounds like you're back from your phone call.
Oh, I didn't leave. Oh. I rejected the phone call.
Let's go.
No, I was going to concur. You know, I loved that game. I thought both of them looked really sharp. That's really exciting that Aurora is now back in the game, you know, not going into week 4 at 0-3, but sitting now at 1-2. Unfortunate for Nihilus, now he's also on the 1-2 slate, and we'll come back around to seeing how that all really looks going into next week when we get to the standings. But let's talk about game number 4, because we have another pretty important matchup between the Minnesota Jynx, coached by Menma, and Bananas of Don't Drop That Dedennes.
Yeah.
Bananas, somebody who's already taken, technically, again, an upset by seed, losing to Nihilus in week 1, has been playing from behind to an extent since that happened. Right now, he's sitting at 1-1+2, so he is positive, but, you know, he's sharing that 1-1 with Menma on the other side of this. So one of these two players is going to go on to 1-2, and one of them is going to go on to 2-1. And again, big ramifications, especially now that we've already seen Aurora and ASCII both picked up a win today. This is like really important now, because are you in the top end with the 2-1ers, or are you on the bottom end with the 1-2ers? That is what we're going to figure out here, because the swings now, I mean, everything has narrowed so much by this final match of the week that there are huge implications no matter what happens.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point, I think there's not much else to say other than, you know, we've seen Menma's team. We've seen another, you know, draft that's very heavy in its top end. We see Roaring Moon, Valiant Heart. We see Petra. We see Melmetal, and it's like, oh my gosh.
And Valiant Heart again.
Oh my gosh, Iron Valiant. I'm sorry. I'm such a big fan.
Watch it on YouTube if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, go check it out. But, you know, Bananas has no slashing Pokemon at all. We see Iron Bundle. We see Mega Altaria. We see Aegislash. I'm biased. We see Tentacruel over there. Rotom-Fan and Gligar, all of which are solid Pokemon. Really good. So it's just a matter of how these players play with these pieces, which is every single game, obviously. But this game, as Spoot said, kind of big. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
We get immediately start with Hitmontop, and we get a Rotom-Fan. And then we get the triple axle.
Rotom-Fan hits Terra Ground and then gets killed by a very obvious triple axle. When you didn't see this thing Intimidate, you had to assume it was Technician, and if it was Technician, it was probably running triple axle.
Yeah.
And then he also gives it a ton of damage on Iron Bunghole. I wish, I don't know. I didn't love those opening turns. I think Aegislash should have come out a lot sooner than that.
Yeah. I do know, I think Hitmontop also gets Earthquake as well, though. Might be something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but that's not boosted by Technician, and it's
true.
not like Stab or anything. So, it's not like a crazy offensive Pokemon. But what's a crazy defensive Pokemon is this thing.
Yeah.
You're being a Will-O-Wisp and getting that Cotton Guard. Look at how little damage that double Iron Bash is doing.
That's so good.
Yep. Iron Valiant comes in to try and put a stop to this. It is a special set, and smartly built by Menma, it comes in with a Sash, which makes Bananas have to switch out that Mega.
Yeah, Moonblast, by the way, only doing, 18% to Tentacruel is crazy.
Tentacruel has a ridiculously high special defense, and knocks off the Pecharunt, which seemed like a very telegraphed spin block.
It's
so
very
good on Bananas.
And again, 26% only to this thing is so crazy, because it's like, yeah, you can recover, sure, but Mirror Coat's here to hit you back, actually.
Yeah, man. It's too bad, because that recover from Pecharunt was also pretty telegraphed. Also, I love those. I didn't realize at the time that Clear Body blocks you from switching out if you try to parting shot.
Yeah. Really funny.
It's just, there's so many good things on Bananas' team, but they're just not coming out quite the right time. That was a really telegraphed, I think, recover from Pecharunt there. So definitely not the time to hit that Mirror Coat. But after revealing it, now Menma's not going to, be attacking Tentacruel anymore.
Yeah. Crazy we didn't see a freeze in this match, or this whole division, actually, compared to, what was it? I think Aqua had quite a few freezes this week.
Something like that. But look at how much damage this does to the triple axle.
Rocky Helmet's so fun. Yeah. Flash Cannon.
Pokemon Gun.
Shadow Sneak just to finish it off. Yeah, that's very well done there. Roaring Moon.
Yep.
We have seen all the moves at this point on, Pokemon Gun, and we get a King Shield expecting to be hit immediately, but we get a Dragon Dance, and that is rough.
Yeah, the special Aegislash not running fighting coverage. Usually you'd see something like Close Combat on a physical Aegislash, but in this case, he didn't have it. Menma knew he didn't have it, identified that he could pretty safely Dragon Dance up on it,
yep.
And Bananas had exhausted too many resources up to this point.
Yeah. And what do you
stop
do?
it.
Times 2 speed. There's no other priority here than maybe an Aqua Jet from Iron Bundle, but I don't think it has that.
No, I mean, it's, an Aqua Jet would go so unresisted and so low damage, and really just, I liked the team building choices from Bananas this week, but just the plays were not it, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I guess Menma
pretty
clean 5-0, actually.
Yeah, and that is huge, 5-0, especially in, again, a division this tight on the diff, on the win-loss going into week 4. That 5-0, again, huge ramifications for everybody, not just for Menma and Bananas, but that affects everybody around them, because everybody is around them, and I want you to tell me who's on top.
I'll tell you who's on top. We have Menma taking the top spot at a 2-1 +8, with the Martian Mantines Black Captain just below him at a 2-1 at +6. Liz of the Sunshine State Smolivs at 2-1 +3, and Goober of the Bidwell Bees at 2-1 +2. Who's got the bottom? Who's on the bottom?
Oh, I'm at the bottom.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you who's down here with me. I got Aurora of the Hoensbroek Haunters, having jumped all the way up to 5th place, actually.
Yeah.
At a 1-2 -2. Bananas of the Don't Drop That Dedennes coming up behind Aurora in 6th place. He's at 1-2 -3. 7th place going to ASCII of the Philadelphia Phantumps at 1-2 -6, and Nihilus of the Dallas Duckletts bringing up the rear at 1-2 -8.
Got a perfect mirror.
It is a perfect mirror. It's very funny. You obviously a perfect mirror is guaranteed after week 1, but after that point, it's not guaranteed. So the math lining up that way, very funny. But I mean, that's what we were saying, man. 4 2-1s, 4 1-2s.
Yeah.
The difference between the first, literally first place, and literally last place in this division right now is 1 game win and 16 differential.
Wow.
That is so. Pretty much anyone could wind up anywhere going into next week, depending on how the matchups go. Liz and Black Captain taking those losses this week is just huge, because they were sitting pretty comfortably up at the top, now moved quite a lot closer, and having our 2 0-2ers both getting a win this week, moving themselves back up into play. Suddenly this thing is anybody's race Like, it is really, really close.
Yeah, well, especially with how the players have been. Again, we talked about Liz and Goober and how well they're doing, but, Menma picking up some solid wins here this season, and the Black Captain having some really good wins this season, too. And players we expect to be doing better are not in the top half, for how they were seeded in this division. So, it literally can actually just be anyone's game. Even you're like, oh, well, Aurora has been known to do really, really well in the past. And yes, that's absolutely true. But 1 and 2 minus 2, if Aurora loses another game, how's that going to affect week 5 after, because this is week 3 right now. And week 4 is just, I think we'll finally start to get an idea of who could make it to playoffs. But if we get another round of back and forths, it is completely possible we could go into week 5 and still not know who's going to be making it to playoffs in Rocket Division.
Yeah, Rocket is already shaping up to be an insanely competitive division, because if you look at basically any other division except maybe Magma, there's already people who are standing out as being at the top and people who are standing out as being at the bottom. You still got undefeateds or people without any wins or whatever, but Rocket uniquely, everybody is still in play going into week 4. Literally all 8 players could very feasibly make playoffs, and there's not even a lot of wiggling around you'd have to see to do it. So every match, I mean, we say it every time, right? Every match always matters, but every match double matters now. Rocket is do or die every week. No one knows what's going to happen. You cannot rely on your seed, on your matchup. You got to bring 110% every week because everybody is just fighting. It is a brawl in there.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you're going to have to join us again next week to see what happens, because I've got my eyes on Rocket. I've got my eyes on all the divisions, but, Rocket is just so interesting. I really want to see what's going to happen in there. And, there's other divisions right now that are really kind of shaking things up. I don't know about you, but Skull, have you seen that Southtown Sand Slashers fella? He's got some interesting stuff going. But genuinely, actually, over in Skull, you need to see where the Maryland Manectrics are, where the Crack Cricken Tunes are. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in Skull as well. I think Magma, my own division, has quite a bit happening, because we talked about the contentions here in Rocket that is anyone's game. Magma has some of those same aspects going into this week as well.
Yeah, there is a lot to see everywhere. I mean, this season we knew it was going to be a ride, and it has shaped up to be, beyond even my expectations for how exciting it's been. It's been awesome. The storylines are super great, and I'd highly recommend, if you haven't yet, definitely consider checking out the Aqua Division recap with Cabral and Aurora, the Magma Division recap with myself and Nick, and the Skull Division recap with Aurora and Nick. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yippee!
You did it!
But we'll
I'm
be
so
holding
proud
it down
of
here.
you.
We're going to keep holding it down here at Rocket. Please join us again next week. This is bonkers crazy. Come back. Tune in. Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Do yourself a favor. Put it in your phone. Just come back, please. I
don't know how to end the ESPN theme. Do you know how?
The only part of the ESPN theme that I know is